And today we have the real privilege of having a discussion with our good friend Sidney Foster.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sidney.
Thank you.
And we've sort of opened up in your most recent claim to fame, your art work. But we agreed that we just kind of let residents look at the artwork while we go back and talk about those 2 or 3 or 4 or how many ever careers you had before. So let's start right out, Sidney. Where did you start your great life in this world?
Well, I was born in England, 1915, and at the age of 7, I took up the violin, and was good enough that the Royal Academy of Music accepted me as a pupil, and I had to audition and things, and I was a violinist in London for many, many years. I loved American jazz. It was so different to the staid type of music that we played for dancing in England. They danced very stiffly, as if they had a stick up their back, you know. And if you coughed, everybody turned around and noticed it, you see. Whereas here, it was free and easy, and I loved jazz.
Free flowing.
Right, and I couldn't play jazz for the life of me on the violin because I was an academic and I couldn't bridge that gap. So I took up the trumpet. And the trumpet actually was my mainstay of playing music in England.
Is that right?
Right. So the violin was just secondary for waltzes and things like that. But mainstay was trumpet and played jazz. And we had a group of people that I always worked together with, 4 of us. And we always used to listen to the records that came over from America, and used to listen to a very good program you had, which was called 5 Hours Back in Time, or 4 hours back. And we used to listen to this on our little simple radio type of thing, very crackly and thing, but we heard all the famous jazz musicians over here, and we decided we were going to go to the States hellbound.
Going to go to the States?
Yes, we were all going to go to the States together. That was the beginning, you see. Well, things happened. They had a job they couldn't leave, and this one had a gig they couldn't give up, and so forth. And I decided I was going to go. And I was the only one that left. Out of the 4 of us, I decided to go. By the time I decided to go, it was 1938. I was 23 years old. And all I had was my violin and trumpet, and a few pounds in my pocket, and then I was going to go, try my luck, you see. Very adventurous at that age. And on the way to Southampton from London, my folks drove me down. We were listening to radio, and war broke out.
War broke out.
That same day that I left London to go to Southampton, to board the ship to go to America, war broke out.
Boy, that makes cold shivers go up and down my back.
My God. When we got to Southampton, you never saw a crowd like that in all your life. Everybody shouting, grabbing, I want a ticket, I got to get home. And they were mostly American tourists who were trying to leave on the last boat that left England before America got into the war. Okay, so we get on the boat, we go up the gangplank, of course. The whole swarming with English troops there all around. And as you get up the gangplank, there was a major on there at the top of the gangplank with his little swagger stick, you know, the type, I mean, what are you doing here? You're an Englishman, you should be fighting for crown and country. And I just ignored him and went straight on. But I was afraid that he could stop me at that point, you see. War was declared. And you couldn't take any money out of England at that time. And my trumpet had some pounds stuck in there for me to go to the States, you see, all that I saved. Anyway, I got on board ship. The ship left. We were 3 days out of Southampton when the boat stopped. We all rushed on deck to find out what had happened, and out of the sea, it was like a movie. this great big submarine came out, a German submarine, to stop us.
Whoa.
And I thought this was the end. I mean, everybody said, oh my God, what are we going to do now, you see? Anyway, they kept us there for 2 hours. The captain spoke back and forth, evidently. And evidently, because, I think it was because we had so many Americans aboard, and we were not in the war at that time, they didn't have orders to do anything, so they said, go ahead. We were the last ship to leave London for Southampton. When we got to New York, the reporters were all, did you take pictures? We'll buy your camera, whatever, you know, that type of thing. They wanted information as to what had happened. Anyway, so I get to New York, and I gawking at my lights. When I left London, we were in dark. Everything was dark there. We had to have curtains over the windows at night and things. We couldn't have anything. When I got to, the lights were dazzling. New York City, oh my God, I've never seen this in all my life. It was an adventure. Anyway, I had a friend that left England about 2 years ago, prior to that, a piano player that I knew, and I got in touch with him. He lived on 181st Street, and I went to live with him for a couple of weeks till I found a place of my own, and that's how I got to the States.
That's interesting. So what did you start out doing? You still had the trumpet and the violin, so
right.
move us along on that, because
I couldn't work in New York City until I became a union member, 802, the famous local 802. So I immediately joined 802 as a trumpet player with the violin, and I'm looking around for a job, and I found a job that needed me at the time. Was in a nightclub in Queens Terrace in New Jersey, and so I traveled from New York on the subway there, and quickly how quickly you learn things when you have to, and so I played there for about 2 years, and then the band went on the road. But in the meantime, this nightclub featured comedians, and you know who the top comedian was there? The young Jackie Gleason.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
He was a young guy, still a little bit portly, but a young guy, and just as funny then as he was now.
You've bumped knees with a lot of...
Right.
And but of course, we don't have time to go
we got on very well. We knocked back a few drinks in his dressing room every night, and we talked about things, and he was a great guy, really a swell guy. Anyway, from there we went on the road. We got stiffed for payments along. You know, we'd play a gig and the promoter would run away with the money before we got to him. And it was an adventure that I never experienced in England at all.
Okay,
you see.
okay. I want to leave time for art. So, you were in the military.
Yes.
Well,
when I got there, of course, it was within a couple of years, I think, 1940. I was asked to join the military here. I got a little letter from him, you know, please, which I did. I had no alternative. And anyway, I joined the Air Corps, and because I was a trumpet player, and at that time they didn't have recordings for the ceremonies. So I was classified as a bugler.
It's a bugler.
As a bugler. That's how I got into the army, as a bugler. So I used to do the normal things. Besides the ceremonial duties, I had to get up in the morning, play taps and things, and at night and that type of thing. So that was very exciting. Something never happened to me in England, of course. You know.
It's such a surprise.
Oh yes, yes.
The man who started out on the violin.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. There's something about basket cases. What was that all about?
Basket cases, okay. In England, once a year, the King and the Queen entertained people that were injured in World War I. They had
people who were injured in World War I.
Yes, soldiers in World War I. And the basket cases came about as a lot of them had lost their limbs, and they were brought into the palace in a basket, and then sat in a chair, you see. That's how they transported them.
That's where basket cases started.
That's where basket cases started, yes.
Well, that's interesting.
And I played there once. I played there one time, and it was quite an experience, shaking hands with the king and the queen, and they thanked us for coming and doing this for us. It was all gratis, of course. We were glad to do it.
This celebrity still lets us shake his hands, and as a matter of fact, give him a kiss once in a while. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Okay, so moving on from the military.
Right.
What's after the military?
Military. I was very fortunate again. I was in my main, where they said, well, I was ordered to go. First of all, I went to Camp Crowder in Missouri for band training, to learn how to march and play the marching thing and do all the ceremonial things. And from there, the bands that were already overseas needed someone. They would fill the place by people in Camp Crowder. And I had to wait my turn. If they needed a trumpet player somewhere, I had to wait for it. And the word came down, they needed a trumpet player, get on this rusty boat, and I didn't know where we were going. And 3 days later, very, very sick, believe me, we landed in Bermuda. And that's where I stayed for the rest of my stay, went into service. I served in Bermuda, doing everything there, and I was very, very fortunate. Now, the problem there was I was an English citizen, and I'm playing on an American base. So they gave us the opportunity to become a citizen at Fort Bell, which was the main thing there. And of course, I took that opportunity. I was going to become an American citizen, and that's how I became an American citizen in a service. Playing in Bermuda.
Okay, how'd you get back to the violin? I mean, you got out of the service, and what did you do then?
Okay, I got out of the service, and at that time they allowed you to take your discharge wherever you wanted. You didn't have to go back to where you started, which was America. So I had already been playing at the officers' clubs at the main hotels there. They were all officers' clubs.
Now, where was this?
This is in Bermuda.
In Bermuda.
Yeah. All of the officers' clubs were officers' clubs were in the hotels at that time, and as the war wound down and Bermuda was no more a strategic point, it became an R&R. They built 2 hospitals there, and the boys coming in that were injured stayed there for a couple of months before they sent them back home to get them well again, you see. And we played for them, of course. We played for the USO shows that came in there and all the things. And I had a band going with me all of the time because
you were still playing trumpet.
Still playing trumpet. And I had my own band there, which I formed out of the nucleus of people that we had. So I knew all of the hotel people there. Well, as the thing wound down, hotels began to open up again for tourists. They needed music. They came to me, would you please form a band? We're opening up so and so. I said, I'm glad to. And I formed a little trio that we had, and we went out to and they opened up the Elbow Beach Surf Club. And that was a very old hotel, which they were beginning to remodel as we were going along there. And I stayed there until 1952. So I stayed about 8 years. I was there with of course, as the hotel opened up, more tourists came in. I enlarged the orchestra until we had quite a large orchestra there. And I used to use the violin to play for dinner music.
Okay.
And then the trumpet for dancing. So it came in very, very handy. It was a wonderful combination.
Unimaginable. I can't imagine violin and trumpet.
Right. It's a very unusual combination.
So keep forward on the violin.
So I stayed there until it was a very small island, and it begins to close in on you a little bit. It gets cramped. You get everywhere so quickly. There's no traffic, and
you feel
if one side of the island, the other, you can do it in an hour and a half or so, 18 miles, type of thing. So I decided to come back to the States. I gave the band notice that we were leaving. They got another band coming in. I stayed until the other band came in to be sure they had a continuous music there, and went back to the New York City. Again, I was very, very fortunate. An acquaintance of mine was playing at the what hotel was that? It was on Park Avenue, I'll think of it later. Anyway, and he was going to leave, and he wanted somebody to take over the job. He still had a contract to perform. And he asked me, would I take over the rest of his contract? And I said, yes. So I went into this very prestigious American hotel on Park Avenue, where I only played the violin. And we played there. I was there for 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the music started to get rather dismal. Taxes were imposed upon live entertainment in New York. LaGuardia did that. And so that you saw the big bands, Guy Lombardo and all the other big bands that played, that you heard them all of the time, played all of the time there. Every hotel had a band, whether it was big or small. And that was lucrative for musicians because they had so much work to do. That slowly went down from a big band to a trio to a piano bar. If that's all they have now, you see, because of the taxes that he imposed. I'm assuming that is the reason. So I decided to get out of the business, and I had a friend here that I met in Bermuda that I later married, and she was in Arlington. She had a house there. So when I came back to the States, I stayed in the house there and eventually married her, and started in real estate.
Okay.
So that was my second thing.
We gotta move through this.
Oh
so
yes,
we can
okay.
get to art.
I was in real estate, and I was real estate until, oh my gosh, until I almost came in here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So when you came in, let's take that. When you moved into Green Spring, how did you start out in music? Had you been playing in orchestras?
Oh yes, yes. I was with the McLean Symphony for 31 years.
Yeah. Okay.
First violinist there, and so that was again part-time thing. I was working in real estate, then do the concerts with them, and every Tuesday rehearsal, which I enjoyed. It was wonderful, and I had to stop that because of macular degeneration. That's why I'm wearing glasses right now. I had an operation yesterday. And so I kept playing music all of the time, gave up the trumpet, and stayed on the violin. And still playing the violin.
And I know that you, in fact, played a concert here at Green Spring after you were 90.
Yes, yes, played a concert here. In fact, when I came into Green Spring, there was no music. There was only about 600 of us here at the time. And I remember playing my first concert in the cafe. That's all. There was no better at that time.
That's right.
And played a few concerts then I started bringing in concert people until we have the concert associate program, which I started in year 2000, and still doing it today.
That's still going strong.
Yes.
Okay. We have imposed, I guess you imposed art into this whole picture.
Right.
So, well, we're going to see you in an orchestra. Look, can you see what's on the screen now? There's an orchestra. Is that your orchestra?
I can't see from here.
You can't see.
No.
Well.
No, I had the McLean Symphony play here many times, which I played with them.
Yes, I think that's what
it
that is. Okay. Well, where do you want to go now?
Well, art. How did I get started in art? A friend of mine, very, very close friend, Ruth Tomasco, knew Ginny Sloan, who is our resident teacher here for art. And she was going to have an abstract art class. And she said, Sidney, you better go along. You're getting on my nerves. You need something to do. So I said, I'll go.
So we can thank her?
Thank her, Ruth Tomasco.
Ruth Tomasco. We're going to say thank to her now. Go ahead with your...
And then Ginny Sloan, of course, was our teacher. She was a great teacher. I went 4 classes with her and started playing. And I loved it so much. it seemed to have a release to me. I get ideas at night, and I'd start painting. I knew nothing about painting.
Now you have an outlet.
Yes.
For those ideas that are just jamming around in your head.
And I've never painted before. Never had a brush in my hand unless it was a paintbrush when I paint houses and things. But so it's been a wonderful outlet. And some of the paintings here, the recent ones that I've done, and the nicest thing, of course,
I get it.
They were so. I didn't think I was any good. I just painted, and this chap Jeff Diner Galleries in Washington D.C. saw my paintings at a friend of mine's house that I gave them for Christmas, and he said, "Who did these?" He said, "Well, Sidney did them." He said, "By God, they're good. I'm going to give him time in my gallery," and he had me there for a whole month in the gallery.
You're
showing a gallery now, yes. This was the opening. And they picked 10 of my paintings, and believe it or not, I sold 2 of them there.
You sold 2?
Sold 2 of them.
During
and
that.
when I saw the price list, I was flabbergasted that they had such a high price on these paintings, and people bought them. And I thought, oh my God, this must be good. I'm better than I think I am.
I'm going to go to heaven and come back and,
right.
and be an artist.
Right. And so there's the paintings there, yes.
Okay, that's on the wall.
Yes.
But we've got some right here.
Right.
So as you go back, we're still showing the art show. So speak more about that.
Okay. He had an opening where he had champagne and things, and they had all these blogs that someone had written up in local papers of what I was doing and how I got started. And if I was 30 years old, this wouldn't be a big thing. But being 96, we're 95 at that time, 96 now,
it's a big
has a lot of appeal to newspapers. Here's a guy that takes up painting at 95, and he's so good, he's having such a good time with it. It's an inspiration for a lot of people.
Of course.
To do something, do you follow?
And you've been there, done that. You like to share your talent with people. You really do.
Right. Well, and Ginny Sloan gave me a month on that artist wall by the bank down in town center. And then after that, we had our art show, which I had, of course, it showed there. And now, of course, we're looking forward now to the Christmas show.
Okay, but let's start with the painting on the easel behind you there.
Right. That I did very recently. It's a little different to what I've been doing.
We're not showing it quite. Now we got it. Okay.
A little different to what I've been doing. I don't try to get a theme and sort of stay on that theme until I've exhausted it. I look for different ideas for every painting that I do.
That's your approach to a painting?
Yes. I get an idea, something I've seen maybe, an idea here, and I get a little sketch going. I can't draw and I can't paint, believe me. I don't know one brush from another. When I pick up an art book and they said, you should use a number 10 brush for this. I don't know what a 10 brush is at all.
You still don't?
I still don't. I bought the first, Ginny Sloan says, go to the store, pick up paint. You've got to have blue, red, and yellow, the primary colors, and with that you can mix them up and get different colors. Okay. So a friend of mine, Don, who was in the class with us, said, I'll drive you down because don't drive anymore. And we bought the paint that she wanted to, and they had paint brushes there going from $4.95 for a big bunch like this to $5 for a little brush and $10 for a bigger brush and $20. So I went for the $4.95. I'm a cheapskate. And I've still got them. And I don't know, I paint what I really don't know what I'm doing half the time. I take a brush, and if it doesn't feel right, I take another one. And I don't know if you remember, but years ago they had a Brill Cream ad, which was a men's hairdressing ad called Brill Cream, and their slogan was, a little dab will do you. Well, that's my slogan, a little dab, and I keep dabbing here and there until I get it right. If I don't like it, I tear it up and start again. And these are some of the recent ones that I've done.
Have you named the one on the...
This one here I've called Smorgasbord, because there's a little bit of everything on there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I'm still painting.
Yeah, but do you know where you're going when you start a painting?
I have a gem of an idea.
You sort of got...
An idea of what I want to do. And I sort of put it in pencil and tried to formalize it into a painting. And then along the way, it changes. Changes dramatically from what I originally had. And finally, it evolves into a painting eventually.
How about the one right by us?
This one here is called Brush Strokes.
Brush Strokes,
right.
Okay.
And
that's just like a free brush stroke.
Right. Yeah, so I just went, and then I flicked the brush and got some dark spots on it here and there.
Dropped some paint.
And then this is my idea, but I understand other artists are using it. Acrylic paint is what I paint with, acrylic on paper or acrylic on canvas, and it dries very, very quickly. But it takes a while for it to dry, say 20 minutes. I can't wait 20 minutes, so I got myself a hairdryer. And I blow dry this until it's dry, which takes a second or so.
Well, you say you got yourself. I'm surprised you didn't have one with all the hair you got.
I got it at the treasure chest.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
And that's how I dry my paintings, you see. So I get started very quickly.
Tell us about the one on the table here.
The one on the table there is called Universe, and that was done on Reynolds wrap, aluminum foil.
Oh, you can see the crinkles.
Right. And I got into that I didn't know anybody that did this. I thought I was the first one. But somebody gave me a piece of cake, a neighbor of mine. Mary gave me a piece of cake, and in it was tin foil. And usually when you get it, you take it out and you deep six it. Well, when I sort of spread this out and I saw the beautiful designs of the highs and lows, and I thought, I'm going to paint on that.
And that's it?
And I've done many on
what do you call it?
That's called Universe.
That's called Universe.
It's sort of the sun coming up.
You paint them and then you label them?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we got to move right along.
Okay.
Because I've got something different in my hand. What is this?
They're little, what they call monkey boxes.
Monkey boxes.
Right. It's a very, very thin box. It's a brown wood, very, very thin. And I buy them, and I have to seal them so the paint doesn't go through the wood. And I make little boxes out of them, which I'm going to have for Christmas gifts. I'm working on it now.
That's
and
precious.
It's padded inside so that...
How many are you going to have to sell?
Well, I have about half a dozen.
Oh, that's not enough.
Oh, I don't think I'll have time to do any more.
Well,
this is very time consuming.
You better get it.
It takes me a whole day just to do that one.
You have to paint the whole box.
Yes. See, this is the box as it comes. And it's a dark wood, and then I seal it.
Yeah, okay.
And then, of course, I do the inside and then paint an original painting on the front.
Okay. All right. All right.
So I'll have those for Christmas, for wonderful gift for grandchildren.
Of course.
They'll keep it forever.
But I still say you better get busy and paint some more.
Right.
So we're down to like the last minute. What do you want to tell residents?
Get off your duff. Now, do you know what duff is? It's an English term.
Oh, sure,
okay.
Sure.
Get off your duff and do something. Don't sit around and play cards and watch television. Do something, because it excites you when you find something that you want to do. It may be knitting, it may be anything, but do something with your hands so that you're busy.
Okay. And actually, we can add to that process, as a rule, will help to improve one's total health.
Oh, definitely so.
Okay.
Yes.
We just got it.
Right.
Sidney, we thank you for sharing your fascinating full life and And I'm sure people are going to speak to you when they see you. It's